What did they have you doing right now?
Well, I mean, it's just a lot of jump master stuff. I've taken over our company's like logs and trackers for every airborne operation, so it's just a lot of moving parts. But I mean, obviously nothing I can't handle. So
Yeah, yeah,
just exhausting. That's it.
yeah, dude. I'm sure. I'm sure.
How are you,
So
dude? I mean, how are you? I haven't talked to you in fucking God knows how long.
it's been a really long time, man. Probably since school. Probably since like, man, what was it? Video production that we took together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
or maybe graduation or something. Yeah, I've been pretty good. I've been uh I've been living life. I've been pretty much like on my own grind, you know.
Hell yeah.
Uh but yeah, just like hitting the gym, learning as much as I can, and trying to save my money. I guess leveraging myself, you know.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Uh so but yeah, recently though, things have been pretty exciting.
Oh
Um
shit.
yeah. And so I've been doing that for a bit and it's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. Um I'm thinking it's gonna be enough for me to go travel. And
Really?
yeah, yeah, it's we're doing
Yeah, but
which is
still, like,
which is still good remote, you know, but we're about to like we're trying to scale up, and as soon as I can maybe make like $5,000-6,000 a month on my own, if that happens, I'm gonna travel. And I want to do YouTube, and I want to start talking to people about their experiences because I haven't done this. Yeah, I haven't done this with anyone, and you're an interesting person. I watched your video that you made about your dad, and I thought it was really, really cool. And so I wanted to talk a bit about that. And I also saw a little bit ago on your Instagram, your profile was like, who's going to carry the boats or something. It was a Goggins quote. I know it was. And I was thinking to myself, maybe we share a similar mindset and an outlook on life and society and things. So that's why I brought you on today. But I'm just brand new to YouTube. So um, I only have one video up right now. And so this is gonna be the second video. But yeah, man, that's crazy.
hell yeah,
Um,
man.
so do you have any goals in like you're in the Navy, right?
I'm in the army.
You're in the Army. Sorry, my bad. Okay. So do you have any goals for where you want to go, like what you want to do in the Army?
Well, now that I'm in the army, I mean, obviously, I mean, I didn't think about going in the army until I was I'll say I was very pressured to by my dad to join. But now that I'm in, like right now I just have all these goals. Like I want to go to, I'm trying to go to Ranger school in like
Okay.
2 months. After that, I'm looking at maybe going into special forces and their selection process. Uh,
Yeah.
and then maybe at some point going to be a drill sergeant so I can go yell at kids and beat the hell out of them and whatnot. Not literally, I mean that's a joke, but like
Yeah. So does that mean buds for you?
No, it won't be buds. That's all SEAL training.
Okay.
Uh, Special forces they have their own selection. It's called SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection. It's like 3 weeks, and then after hopefully getting selected through there, it's like 2 years of training, and you become a Green Beret. It's
Okay.
it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I
So
guess I guess like in army on the army side, because Buds is more Navy. On the army side, I'd say Green Beret. They probably sit kind of like hand in hand.
okay. I heard Ranger School is like incredibly difficult.
That too.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I think honestly, it's crazy that I got you here because I've been thinking recently that I want to serve. In a few years, I want to join
Yeah.
the Navy. After this YouTube stuff pans out and I have some money in my pocket, that's the next thing I want to do.
That'd be
Um,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, so it's not like I haven't done like a bunch of research on it yet, but I listened in a bit about like Ranger School and Buds, and yeah, it's intriguing to me. Do you like doing it? You said that your dad kind of pushed you towards it. Do you
Yeah.
like? Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, it's definitely given my life a lot of structure and a lot of like almost that goal setting kind of discipline mindset. Uh, Obviously the stuff that you're looking at, um, it's phenomenal. I mean, before I was going in, like obviously I was in absolute shambles. Graduated high school, I didn't know where I was going. Like, you know, it hit when it hit September when everybody was already in college and I'm still at my house with no plan. And that's obviously like why my dad was like, I guess pissed off, I guess in like the kindest way to put it. Uh to be like, okay, you need to go somewhere, enlist in the army. And after a lot of talk about it, I finally joined in October 2022, and now we're here. Just we've picked up sergeant. I'm a jump master. I've got my expert soldier badge. I'm airborne. It's been just many, many more goals to come after that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up some notes that I took. I I guess we'll talk a lot about like mindset and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, because that's been like everything that I sent to you on Instagram is kind of like an outline of what's been going through my mind these past few years. I had something very similar where I got out of high school and I went to college, but I went for a really stupid major that I didn't like. And I switched schools and I went into UX UI design or web design,
Mhm.
and I just don't like it. Like it's not what I want to do. Um, it's not how I want to spend my time. I want to try and escape the 9 to 5 if I can.
That
So
seems to be like a common goal amongst like especially our age. I've noticed.
yeah, and the reason for me is not the money. It's really because I want to work early in the morning, wake up and like you have powerful work in the morning as soon as you wake up. And then I want to spend the rest of my day training and focusing on my health and my mind. And I think in doing that, like I can prepare myself to serve number one. And so that aligns with what I want to do later. And then also I just think people should like live that way. I think that we place way too much focus on like grinding, like working uh, in a career in a path for money specifically, not for like becoming the person they want to be, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
I I
Um,
I have I could comment on that, but
Go
that's
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
like I so I agree. I agree to an extent, and I had this argument with somebody today, uh,
Okay.
but it was yes, you should chase after something you enjoy. Like so, you're talking about don't chase after the money, chase after somebody, or chase after like building yourself. Is that what you're essentially describing?
Yeah. So for me, I'll give you a quick rundown of like my thoughts over the past few years, and it will make sense, I think. So I had a major spiritual awakening like 2 years ago, and I just felt completely detached from everything. Um, I was like, what the fuck? I exist. I don't understand what that means or why people want me to have a job that is not something I love. Like we're gonna die one day, right? And we have limited time here.
Of course.
And so under that condition, and I felt this very deeply, is like I need to do something very meaningful with my life. And I guess from that perspective, it was then about ideals, like societal ideals, like just getting a 9 to 5 and a career path. And if that's for you, that's good, right? If that's going to lead to the life you want, that's good. And for a lot of people, it will, or at least it will get them out of their situation. And then they become something. They get trained in something and they're good at something. And that's really important. Um, but I think that there's ways to still work very hard, but towards something different, just like a different kind of life. And for me, that's just like framing it in the sense of like I don't want to strive towards any single ideal. Like I talk a lot about the like masculine ideal the society puts on men.
Hmm.
And to me that's like, you know, we should kind of sever ourselves from our emotions and, you know, be all about grit. And that's good. I think when you know how to frame it, when you know as a man what it means to be a man, grit is very important. But a lot of people mistake that for like this unhealthy, like toxic masculinity.
Right.
Um, but to me, life just felt different. I knew it was something different. For me, it was more so like, how can I feel the world around me very deeply and use that to act with great will on the world, right? So that's kind of how I like to frame it. And yeah, so I had this awakening, and um, I just kind of had the vision of myself that I wanted to build, number one. So that was like mind, body, and spirit, getting very disciplined, very oriented towards God. I don't know what you believe, um, but that's kind of where it came down to me. And I said, I'm throwing away all of what society's telling me to do. And my focus is going to be on transcendence, on, uh, you know, discovering like what it means to exist, to be alive, to also then, in the other way, push my mind, body, and spirit to its limit, like its absolute limit, and figure out what that is. So I guess just like truly worthy pursuits in life. Um, and so, yeah, that's a bit of me rambling. But what were your thoughts on? You said you had a little argument earlier with your buddy. Like, what do you think?
So, so uh, I guess I'll kind of explain my situation right now. Like, so, like, I work I'm in the army,
Yeah,
right? I'm signal, and uh, I jump out of airplanes.
yeah,
Those are basically my two primary jobs, right? The airplane stuff's awesome. Jumping out of planes, doing all like that crazy cool shit. That's awesome, right? Signal, right? This is the job I actually enlisted for. It's not a future career. It's not a future career, not at all. Uh, However, the caveat to that is the benefits, and I try not to talk like about myself, I try to not, you know I guess that's really it. Really try not to talk about myself in like any way, shape, or form, good or bad. I try to, I just don't like doing that. It's not my kind of thing. uh but I believe that, like, at least my work ethic and my work style, period, especially being built from the army, has allowed a lot of opportunities uh, to come my way. Like working hard, even within Signal, like with all these signal systems and all this crazy BS that we work with. I hate the stuff. I really do. But I still figure it out. I've still learned how to use it. And I've at least tried mastering it in a way that now my leadership can look at me and be like, okay, this guy's working hard. What can we give him? What can we provide him? Uh, as like a reward, or to get the job done, or like where does he want to go in life, like that kind of stuff. I think having, like, no matter what job you're in, having that kind of mindset to really prove to the people above you that you know what you're doing, you can set a lot up for yourself. And it's that primarily in this organization. I'm not sure about the civilian world, but that's
yeah.
that's where I kind of stand on that.
I really like that. Um, I just I actually just finished, which is why I was talking about him. But Goggins released a book. It's called like "Can't Hurt Me," and I finished listening to that, and it sounds a lot like how he positioned himself. He didn't really have any way of getting to buds like he wanted um, when he enlisted, but he it was his work ethic that allowed him to show his superiors like that this is where he wanted to go. And so, yeah, I like that. Um, so your outlook has a lot to do with like maybe not knowing exactly where you'll end up, but really focusing on who you could be in every moment. Um, your mindset and just like working your absolute best. Yeah. Um, great opportunities in the Army for that as well. So yeah, you're doing Signal. What is that? What do you do?
So it's primarily what I handle is satellite communication. So it's the way our things work. We go in the field and we pull internet for people, for commanders and everything like that. As you could probably imagine, it's not the most exciting shit to do. Uh, Mainly because like when people think army they're thinking like kicking down doors and throwing grenades and like everything that you do in like basic training that they throw on commercials everywhere to make the army look like the coolest place ever. But like you go to do your actual job and it's like you drive out to this field, you set up you just set up Wi-Fi, and then like you just sit there, your internet's up, like you don't have to do anything. People just do whatever they need to do off of it. They ask you questions, and for the most part, you're just kind of sitting around, not doing much. That's a lot of what our job is, and that's why primarily, like at least where I'm at right now, like I'm not a big fan of it. Uh, just because I want to be able to get out there and actually do like all the cool guy stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
That's like I'm trying to get out of that right now. That's kind of where I'm at on my career.
I got you. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna pull up really quick what I sent you. So yeah, I guess like I just wanted to do like a little interview, talk to you about what you did, and I wanted to ask you a bit about your dad, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
and the project that you did. Um, so yeah, what about him? I watched it and I really enjoyed like listening to him talk about his mindset and just how he looked at life. What about the situation inspired you to make a movie? Like what compelled you to do that?
So it really was. So he got diagnosed for cancer. I forget the year, but it was at the end of our ninth grade year.
Okay.
I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019. Uh, 2019 in the summer, he got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. All right. I mean, obviously, not everybody's greatest freaking thing to hear, especially in the family. Uh, and since then, like with and like with like you and I's like uh all this weird BS we did in high school with like film and graphic design and like all of that weird stuff. My mom was trying to create some secret background project like, hey, let's make a movie or a documentary on your dad, something we could have like,
Okay.
if he passes away and, all that kind of stuff. And it was very put off. It was very, very put off because I had a lot of insane, I definitely did not have that kind of drive in high school to do such projects. Especially I would say especially for the family. I don't know how, like, it kind of sounds wrong to say, but I wasn't very like uh for the family. That sounds wrong, but like I wasn't very like family that's a better way. I wasn't very family centered throughout high school. I was very focused on friends, I was focused on work, I was focused on like pretty just making money and like trying to just a whole bunch of other stuff. It was just,
Yeah.
easy ways to stay distracted when your dad has cancer.
Yeah.
Uh, but coming, I was, uh, I was in Louisiana for a month-long rotation, and I got a phone call from my mom that my dad was being put on pain management.
Yeah.
This was in March of 2024. That like mid March 2024. Got a call, put on pain management. Uh, Obviously not great news because I was in Louisiana. I couldn't drive home. I couldn't I was very restricted. We were on a training mission. Like it was very, uh, it was hard to kind of cope with that at that time. Uh, but very quickly, it just turned like a whole lot of buttons just, or not buttons, but a whole lot of lights just flicked up in the head. And one of those lights were the idea of the movie that my mom brought up a long time ago. So since then, it went from coping from this movie straight to, okay, like what can we do? What's the next step? Where are we going? What can I do to help? What can I do to make this better? And one of those ways it was just getting this movie going. I made a first phone call to a guy named Zach Boyle. He used to work with one of the news stations in Pittsburgh, and then he ended up
Oh, I lost you there.
BS traveling all over the. Uh, a phenomenal guy, absolutely phenomenal guy. I gave him a call. I said, "Hey, making this movie project. Can you help me out?" And he's like, "I got you." He has all these nice cameras, light system, and everything. I'm putting out Facebook posts, making other phone calls. Hey, can you be available on this day, like at this time? Can you do an interview? Then it all ended up turning out to be a weekend in mid-April. We got the entire movie coordinated from mid-March to mid-April. I had the entire, and while I was in the field too, which we didn't have phones then, so it
Wow,
was
yeah.
harder coordinating. Uh, we had the entire movie coordinated and filmed to include my dad's interview on the first day. And then on the second day, we had 38 people interviewed in the span of 8 hours with 4 teams split out and scheduled out to capture those interviews with people talking about their experiences with my dad and just all every great memory and just helping build that picture of the kind of guy that my dad was and the story that he obviously told in the first day that we shot the film. Uh, Going into later, I mean, it took like 8 months to edit. I, I, that which was a phenomenal distraction, by the way. My dad passed away he passed away technically the last day of April, but doctor called May 1st. Uh, is when he passed away, but just even still rolling then, obviously being there for my family at the time, helping with any coordinating of like funerals and stuff. But also, just working on the movie was just a complete distraction from just all of the chaos that was going on. Uh, that's
Yeah. That's
definitely, yeah.
that's powerful. It
There's
sounds
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, I was just there isn't really much more about the movie. We spent 8 months editing it, and then it's about the Warrior Foundation. I'm actually wearing their shirt, but
Okay.
it's about the Warrior Foundation. They held a fundraiser for my dad previous to his passing, and they raised like $18,000, or it was something. It was some crazy number to help, obviously, with his treatments and all of that stuff. Just a nice boost. Phenomenal people, phenomenal community. I love Hampton. Hampton has one of the greatest. Is one of the greatest. Not even one of. Is the greatest community I've ever been a part of, even with the Army and all the great people that I've met here in my young life. They held a fundraiser, raised $18,000, and then obviously my dad passed, and I really wanted. I never got a chance to attend the fundraiser myself because it was happening during while I was in Louisiana. So I wanted to kind of give a thank you back. So I held a movie premiere in December for the movie itself when it came out. You know, I haven't showed anybody the movie, no clips, no nothing. It was just myself and the editor that I hired from Ohio. His name's Hunter Brockman, absolutely phenomenal guy as well. Deserves a spot on like a Netflix film. The guy edits like crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, nobody's seen the film, period. So we held that premiere. Every ticket sale and every donation, every cent went to that It's About the Warrior Foundation, just as a thank you from me personally. I didn't make a cent off that film. I spent a lot of money making the film, but I didn't make it. I didn't make a penny off of it. I refused to make a penny off of it. It's About the Warrior Foundation. They deserve a lot for what they do. I totally stand in that.
A couple things stick out. So you put so much weight behind this,
Yes.
especially while you were serving. And so it brings me back to the first thing you said, which is like a light switch went off in your head. And you said you came from kind of not being focused on family, um, and distracting yourself with the typical high school things. I think, work, friends, and this light switch went off, and you just put all your weight into what mattered. I think, in that moment. And so, I guess I have to ask, was it like, did you transform the suffering, the things that you were feeling, into that weight? Is that what allowed you to push through and do it all? It at least shifted your perspective in that way.
It definitely mattered to me a lot. I will say my focus on my family shifted a lot since joining the military.
Okay.
Uh, like when I was in high school, I was a general manager and a banquet manager, or I was a general manager at a pizza shop and a banquet manager at a banquet hall. And, I would work six, sometimes 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes seven. I don't want to even say that. I would work a lot. Essentially,
Yeah.
I would work a lot. I go to school, I go to work, I come home, and my dad was on the same schedule. He would, because he was coming up to his retirement, and the way their pensions worked at the time, they would, those last 3 years, whatever hours there were combined, there uh, whatever he made per year on average would be like his pension
Okay.
after retiring from the police force. So he was working 12-hour shifts. He was working overtime. He was like, so like my dad and I would never see each other for like weeks on end, and the only time we would get to hang out was like if we were hanging out on like a family reunion, or if we were hanging out, like if we went on a run to like Costco or something,
Yeah.
like it was so hard to see my dad and I off on the same day. It's just how much him and I worked all throughout high school. But when I got into the military, I mean, we were in totally different places. So, and just him and I started to kind of unlock the mindset he had after joining the military, and I think like that's kind of where I was like, okay, like that's pretty freaking awesome, like I have a pretty awesome dad. He's not just some asshole that yells at me all the time whenever I do stupid stuff. Like, he's like there's a reason behind it, and I'm very blessed to have had him as a father. Uh but the army was definitely where I kind of started like kind of bringing that in. I started calling him more, calling my mom more, trying to just kind of build that like family connection. I'd come home, we would hang out, go shooting, this and that, uh, that kind of stuff. Uh, I think definitely that's where I built kind of that family center. And then obviously, whenever we went to Louisiana and getting that phone call and getting that kind of just that news of like imagining a world without my dad in it, and just now officially like now being at the age I'm at now and knowing the impact that he's had on me, that's when I knew just, that this is a project that not only I want to happen, but it needs to happen.
Okay. Yeah. So the real critical shift there. Um, and back to it. So would you say your dad is a hero?
Would I say that my dad is a hero?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like what did that mean to him, and how did he live his life in a way that you would paint as a hero, and then how have you taken that and applied it to your own life?
He found joy in helping people. He said it in the movie. He says it all the time. He raised us like that too, where he, if we didn't help somebody, he would get mad, and with good reason. Uh, it's the number one way, and my mom told me this, and I know where she got it from. It was my dad. The number one way to make yourself feel better is to help someone else. And that is so true in so many levels. And I think that's what really makes him like almost heroic in a sense. If we're talking about being a hero, that I think that's definitely a very good trait to match with being a hero. Always striving to help, always striving to stay positive, always striving to, when somebody is in need of something, whether they're in struggle or they're in crisis or something, that they have somebody to go to or an answer, whether somebody has that answer or whether they can point them in a certain direction. And I'm just quoting that straight from the movie. I mean, it's my dad could not have said it any better. Uh, I think that's a an incredible trait to have and to hold, and that's something I aspire to be every day. I don't ever want to be that person that somebody looks at and they're like, oh, I can't go to him, he's not going to help, or he's useless, or you know I don't know, sometimes I can be on a temper, but like, if somebody
Of
doesn't look at it and
course.
be like, oh, he's an asshole, I don't want to go mess with him or whatever. I'd want to be somebody that's approachable and somebody that's, I don't want to say useful, but somebody that,
Can
you
be
know,
counted on.
yeah, somebody that can be counted on, and somebody that, like, I want to be somebody that comes up in their mind that is looked at as like, okay, like, if I need something, like, he's somebody I can go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm getting at.
That's awesome. That's really where I'm also at in my mind, is I just want to be like a pillar for my family and friends. Um, I don't know how life was after school, um, or if you've kept up with many people. For me, I had a pretty I had a pretty tight friend group after school, and a lot of them, though, haven't necessarily done things in their life that they don't share a similar outlook.
Mhm.
And so, um, I guess I've had to wonder if, starting out in a really small perspective of just my friends, and then observing like a college campus, and then more broadly, like looking at society and more politics, and things like that. Do you think people and like our society still values that heroic ideal, that striving towards excellence, reliability, like self overcoming, like this person can be counted on, exactly like you said? Because I just don't see it very much anymore.
I
And
okay, I don't I see it a lot with, I want to figure out the best way to word this. I do see it with some people. I do. Uh, I think I think everybody has that same mindset of wanting to achieve their own goals, and I mean, of course, I mean, nobody. I would hope nobody would seriously. I mean, everybody's going to joke about it, I hope nobody would seriously be like, okay, why would I ever help this, or why would I ever help anybody? You know, yeah, there probably are people like that where they're like, okay, like get away from me, like I don't need anybody near me, you know, stuff like that. Uh, but there's definitely, I mean, there's, I'm I don't know how to word this. I really don't. I'm kind of I'm kind of blanking on myself.
It's
It's been a
okay.
long. I've been up since like 3:30, so I'm like,
Oh man. Oh man. I guess let me reframe that question because I didn't really know what I was talking about going on about people I know. Um, so yeah, I talk a lot and I'm going to be talking a lot on my channel about philosophy and just comparing I think like historical examples to the modern world. Um, and so big thing is the ancient Greeks. I really like their way of life. I think that they tapped into that heroic ideal, that striving of excellence that we've lost in our society. I believe we've lost it on a very broad scale. Um, I know a lot of servicemen, like they join the service because they feel this in them. So I think it applies to guys like you and guys that are in the service. But I've spent a lot of time in the city of Pittsburgh, out on the streets. I've spent a lot of time talking to people on my college campus. And then I look back at high school and I just notice so many people they don't speak like we have already in this podcast. You know, their focus lies somewhere else.
yeah.
Um, and so the Greeks, they really lived um, under this principle called arete, and it was like uh, it was essentially their definition of excellence, but really it was the cultivation of the mind, body, and spirit. And they kind of scaled each with a score, and that was their arete. It was a score, um, and so that's why I ask, like, what does it mean to be a hero, and maybe how your dad has inspired you. Yeah, so like talk to me about this because I again observing like friends, um, the general population, a lot of college goers seem to be really focused on their major and their studies, but then I would say at my campus like 50% of students party every weekend. They go out and they drink, um, or they don't, but they're still partying, and I think that that's okay, like in limitation, especially if you're doing it maybe to socialize, but to me it kind of reflects like the work all week and then distract myself from that stress on the weekend just to return to it again. Kind of that cycle. Um, so yeah, just explain to me like your thoughts on society and yeah.
So I'm gonna go kind of a couple different avenues of this. I don't think any of the partying is necessarily bad. It's not personally my kind of lifestyle. I'm not a big go out. I mean, I'll go out, I'll party. I don't drink, but I'll hang out with people. I'll do stupid. I'll act drunk in a sober situation and just be absolutely fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
just for the lore.
As one does.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But I'll use my brother as an example. Like he's in college right now. He's like 2 years, or not 2 years. He's 2 months into his freshman year. He's holding a 4.0 and he parties almost every day. He goes to Coastal Carolina. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like he has a very, very, very bright future ahead of him. And I mean, I guess he's a little bit different than most college guys, mainly because of like our own family situation with our dad passing away. It definitely opens up a lot of new perspectives and eyes into our own lives. That's hard to explain, I guess. But for him, for an example, like he's doing phenomenal. He's gonna get a phenomenal job somewhere. I mean, I'm not with studying business at college. I think you should just go right into it. But he is going, he's learning like commercial real estate and getting his
Oh
certification
wow. Okay.
stuff. So, I think that's phenomenal. I think he's going to go a lot of places with that. With some other people at colleges, uh, I get it. Not there's what I kind of look at it as, and again, I can't say anything because I haven't been to a real college. I have an associate's degree in general studies from online CCAC. And like that's definitely nowhere near what a real college is like. Uh, what I could assume it would be is like I feel like it's almost like another continuation off of high school. You're still going to classes, you're still achieving, you're still going for grades, you're doing assignments, you're doing homework, and when you're off, you're off. You have your own schedule uh every semester, and that's just that's how I see it. I think it's just a continuation off of high school. Now, granted, you're surrounded by different people. I mean, you're going from high school to college. You've been spent the last 12 years with this one group of people, and now you're just meeting a whole new group. You got to socialize with new people. It's it doesn't you don't have 12 years to get comfortable with the same people. You got to like get out there. And I mean that's I can see why partying and bars and all of that stuff are definitely very key in there. Uh, but I think it's hard to kind of visualize like this kind of driven mindset uh until you've gotten like into the real world. You've seen a real job. Like you kind of understand like you're not really going off of a grading aspect where you're achieving these high grades, you're staying at the top of the class, but you're like outperforming people in a
Yeah.
workplace environment. And I believe that's way different than school. I sucked at school. I feel like I thrived in a workplace environment. And I really I hate talking about myself like that. I don't like talking about myself in a way that's like positive like that. Like I don't like saying like, I'm thrive in a fucking social environment, or I thrive in a work environment, like trying to compare myself to other people. I don't think that's right. Uh
Well, I'm gonna challenge you there.
okay.
Um, so I like to look at masculinity as having a huge ego that can still be permeable. Um, so like standing for your truth, what you believe in, and what you know to
Of
be true
course.
is really important. For me, like I could say that I'm very driven compared to most people. I could say that. Now, obviously there are people out there that are way more driven than I am because I just haven't tapped into that yet. But I know it to be true. Don't like get on yourself about uh you know like hyping yourself up. You know, I can tell you this: you don't come across as a person in any way that is self-centered, or that like thinks of yourself like in a grandiose way.
I hope not.
Um, you don't at all. Like you're very humble. Um, Something maybe I need to take a little note of. Yeah, for myself. Yeah. Um,
One
but
thing, one thing my dad's, and this is a memory that sticks out to me a lot. There was a time when it was serious. It was like a week before my dad passed,
yeah,
or no, it wasn't even a week before it was the weekend we filmed the documentary. The weekend we filmed the doc. I came home on a 4-day weekend pass. I was like the like that Friday I was driving home, like my tire popped the morning of. I left work early to go get a tire change because I knew I was driving home that night. And then I'm driving home, I got a speeding ticket. I'm not even 4 hours into the drive, and my coolant is already running low. I'm like my car, I feel like my car is gonna explode. Like it's giving me all these warnings, and it was just such a terrible day. On top of that, I was sick. Like I had the flu, and like I went home and just saw my dad. Like, we were just he was down in the kitchen. You get some breakfast, all that kind of stuff. And like I just woke up in the morning and walked up there and was just telling him about my day. And I stopped myself and I was like, well, I guess it's nothing compared to what you're going through right now. And he looked at me and he said, no one's here to compare.
yeah,
No one's here to compare. And that I think that definitely stuck with me a lot. I like it I that's kind of where I go into kind of like this helping, this kind of like in your case, this heroic kind of mindset of you, you don't know what the other person can be going through.
Okay.
And I think that can go really for all situations. You don't know what the other person could be going through, but just again, being that person to be able to sit there and even just listen when somebody's in a time of crisis, in a time of panic, in a time of stress. Uh, I think that's very, very just another one of those great values to have. You know, but it's just
Yeah, so you had like the worst day ever, the most inconvenient day ever, and you still understood that, it's nothing compared to what your dad was going through.
right.
And yeah, that's really important, I think, having empathy. And yeah, I talk a lot about like the mindset stuff and the heroic ideal. Like, you should be striving, like almost the warrior mindset. Like, you look at life and you take it on courageously. And I think that it's really for the people that are suffering. It's for the people that are going through hard times to know that, it is up to them, but like there's something better coming always. And
Absolutely.
there's meaning in that suffering, regardless of how bad and how hard it feels. And I think it's more like it's about inspiration, definitely. Um, but yeah, that's so important is empathy. Um, Being empathetic is what gives you a return. It makes you stronger. Just like giving kindness and sharing kindness to the world makes you a stronger person. Something you said earlier. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. There's definitely like well, I'm not gonna call anybody out by name, and you mean obviously that's wrong, or I can't even call anybody out by name. It's not even uh not that I have anybody to cite, but I've worked with people uh in situation like I guess for me, for example, like I definitely sometimes struggle in a team aspect. I definitely sometimes struggle in a team aspect. And the only reason for that is because I believe I have a very take charge mindset. I have a
Okay.
very take charge mindset to where I get into a group of people, I figure out what's going on, and I'm just moving. That's it. I just start moving.
Yep.
Uh, you know, you give me all these resources, and like I just take it and run. That's it. Uh, Whatever the fastest, most efficient way to get it done, that's what I try to figure out, and that's just the way I run. Uh, that's really how my whole family runs. I mean, they talk about it all in the documentary. My dad, his brother, like it's that's just how we were raised. So I guess in some like I can work in a team, especially doing all these jump master duties and whatnot. I mean, like you really have no choice but to listen to the person above you and uh kind of follow the steps. There isn't really a whole lot to take charge, but I definitely, I find my moments where like, okay, like this is somewhere I can step up. This is like, something I can yell at or yell about and kind of get people moving so we can be a little bit more efficient and stuff like that. But going back to your point, I mean, there's definitely people that I've worked with where like I've had like that kind of mindset, that kind of like, okay, like let's drive, let's get some shit done, we got a lot to do, and like there's people who don't have that same kind of motivation because they don't see any reward out of it. They don't see any reward out of it. Uh which is totally understandable, and I get that. Uh, in the military, there it really, I mean, I wouldn't I mean, being in the military, period, there's a lot of reward that comes with it. There's a lot of, I mean, coming out, becoming a veteran, and I mean, there's a lot of reward and uh, higher looks that you get out of coming out of this kind of organization. While you're in, I haven't personally experienced it, but like other people, they work every day, and like there might be leadership that doesn't look at you uh the same way they look at somebody else because they might be working a little bit harder, or like they're in a certain position that you didn't get the opportunity to be in. Uh and that to that person who's not getting awarded or rewarded or anything, like, I mean, they can lose their like drive like that.
Yep.
There's a lot of, there's a lot, I see it a lot, and I have seen it a lot. There's there's a lot of instances that can happen in this service to where like you can mess up one time and like the worst punishment can happen to you. Like you can lose your rank, you start losing your pay. And right then and there, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have that strong mindset. They just give up. From there, it's over. They just stop working. Period. They know it's a government job. They're going to get paid every 2 weeks. It's there. There's a lot of different kind of people like that. But I think it can do with empathy, yes, but I think it has a lot to do with their own self-value and kind of seeing like where they matter,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, they want recognition for their hard work. Um, and when that's taken away, it can be devastating to their mindset. And yeah, I mean, I felt that in my own life. Um, I think that that's kind of part of all this. I see a lot of people struggling with it actually. Something in life doesn't go their way or exactly how they planned, and they lose all their drive. They lose their courage to pick themselves back up and try again.
Absolutely.
And that's the most important thing about like this heroic ideal is like you're the hero. You're gonna have to pick yourself up eventually and continue with your journey. And yeah, a lot of people, they find the courage, I think, to self overcome, to really push through and test their bounds. And then something happens. And when they lose it, suddenly they go back to square one and they're seeing all the challenges ahead. In that perspective, that almost that self-limiting perspective where everything is right there in their face. They're like, this feels impossible again, you know? Um, and it's like, I got to build from step one. Um, and yeah, have you faced anything like that in your military career, your army career? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Not even in my military career, but even just in like life period.
Yeah.
I got freaking uh like I got smoked to almost I don't want to say I got smoked to death. I didn't get smoked to death. I got smoked a little bit one day because I left a piece of equipment out of my locker just unsecured whenever I left work. I got called back in, knocked out 83 push-ups for the 82nd Division plus the one paratrooper in the sky. Sounds a little goofy, but that's just kind of
They got to come up with it somewhere.
you know what I mean? Yeah, there's just kind of that's just and I get it. Uh, and I went home and I was bummed. I was really bummed. I sat there, stared at my ceiling, like wanting to give up. Like this is stupid. Like where am I gonna like where's my next I didn't even I wasn't even thinking about like any next steps or anything. It was just like I felt like shit. I just felt like everything was over. I went to work the next day, like I just was moping around, it just totally like out of it. And it didn't feel good. It didn't
Yeah.
feel good. It didn't feel right uh working like that, like cuz there's a certain point of time working where I kind of got back into that mindset of like okay, nothing's getting accomplished with and I'm not being looked at very highly with myself just moping around looking like a piece of shit. What's that what I think a lot of people kind of need to uh kind of there's two words that I think people should start thinking of. Have you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
Yeah.
Okay, so that famous scene where the teacher's talking to Neiman and he's saying the two most harmful words in the English dictionary are good job. I think that's a very true statement. Those are two very that prevents people from striving to where they should be. I think contrary to that, two words that people should be thinking of are what's next.
Yeah.
You know, whether something good happens, they get an award, or uh something bad could happen. I'll bring up the example again of when I found out my dad was being put on pain management, and
Hmm.
you hear that and you're like, okay, my dad's passing away. you know
Hmm.
Down there when you're on mission, uh you don't have well, I mean, you for in my position you do have a lot of time to think, but in when you have an actual job to do, like you can't like really waste time.
Yeah.
Uh, with all of the taskings and stuff you got to get ready for, and especially whenever you're actually in the training scenario. Uh, but even just, you got a little bit of time to think, but then you kind of start thinking like, okay, like the overall span of my life right now, you know, how much time in that span do I want to waste like thinking about this, coping with it, getting, maybe it could lead to start getting the people's attention and like in a negative way, about like hey, there's like this stuff going on for me, like you need to feel bad for me, whatever, like, all this bullshit. I think
Yeah.
I think the right answer for that is, you know, it's okay to cope. It's, I understand everybody has a different like time period, different way of coping with certain situations and everything like that. But there's a certain point in time where people just need to quickly be like, okay, what's next? What's the next move? What can uh what can I do? What can other people do? What can I initiate? What can I start? What's something I can focus on to take my mind off of this? Uh that's that's something huge, huge, that I don't think a lot of people do. I don't think a lot of people have that kind of mindset of rule, and I guess kind of going into the masculinity of things. Uh, I think that's definitely a more masculine mindset than most, uh, especially compared to more of a feminine mindset. I try not to separate like the one or the two. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
got to be careful. I think there's so much around it, you got to be careful. But it's true, I think men are like predisposed to wanting to conquer things, to conquer domains, right? Um, so yeah, it's like, for example, if you're on the ground, you don't have the luxury of thinking about what just happened. You have to just decide to push through. And I think that that's a reason that a lot of vets come back with PTSD, right? Like they don't have time to cope with what they see, and it all happens in a span. Um,
kind of, but
I know I missed part of that there, yeah, but um, it makes some sense to me, like the pressure, the immense pressure on certain individuals to do so. Um, but for example, like in our society, um, like in America here, we really choose, or a lot of people choose to live in comfort. And like you said, like good job is the worst thing you can hear. Um, and I agree because, you know, um, our focus should never be, it's good to appreciate our accomplishments, um, but our focus should never be on being comfortable after we've accomplished something. It should be what's next. How can I continue to carry on this mindset that got me to this first achievement to the next one without feeling like I already, arrived? And I think that's a problem for a lot of people, and our society makes it very easy to be comfortable. Um, Makes it very easy for us to, just get a job, make some money, and, have a life and maybe not do much else. Um, and, that's good. Or, we see a lot of people living off the government. And I think, like, it's really great that, like, those things need to be put in place, so they're not going away. But a lot of people do, like, live the most comfortable lives they can and just get by, and they don't really, I think, like, contribute much to themselves or something greater than themselves, you know and that's what's most important. Like, if you're a good person and you are kind to others, that's virtuous and that's good. But the epitome of, I think, like, where I see a lot of people going is like very self-centered, very very seeking, very, like, they outsource a lot of their meaning to maybe substances, or, like, I used the example in a college campus, like partying. They outsource their meaning to things that aren't necessarily meaningful, but maybe they perceive them as meaningful, or it fills a void for them. Um, and yeah, I guess I'm trying to tie things. I'm trying to tie things into something else I wanted to talk about, kind of in this range that we were just talking about, called Western disenchantment. It's more of like an esoteric philosophical term for a loss of meaning in our society. So I gotta ask, serving for you, is it kind of a sacred journey? Is it like a sacred thing to you? Serving your country is like a very noble thing to do. So how do you look at it?
I look at it as a way to really, I mean, well, to push myself beyond unforeseeable limits. Uh, I mean, I love pushing myself, especially physically. Like I do so many stupid freaking uh physical events, like especially in endurance. You know, I've done a 30-mile Spartan. I've done a you know, I do 12-mile rucks almost every month, which isn't that much, but you know, it's still uh more than what most people do on average.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, I just put my body through just such stupid freaking things without any training at all, which is so dumb on my end. Uh, but you know, I also kind of look at the military as it's. I mean, I look at it as kind of like a good way to build myself, a good way to. They give you the acronym leadership, LDR, SHIP. Stands for loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And I think selfless service definitely, uh, I can kind of, I can kind of try to tie myself in with that trait. I like serving selflessly. I like helping other people. I try to put other people in front of myself. Uh, and I mean, you know, if I do end up putting myself in front of other people, then I mean that needs to be changed because I mean I don't catch it. At least I hope it doesn't happen. But uh, I mean I guess that's kind of where I sit as far as like kind of what I'm driving for in the military is that kind of selfless service, and that I guess a little bit of like personal courage to kind of step up and you know take charge and be that guy. You know what I mean?
yeah, you found purpose in it.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think today, technology, maybe AI, is a good example. Like especially in colleges when AI was rolled out, I think like 2016 they released ChatGPT. High school and college didn't know how to handle it. Um, there was no way that they could prevent it, and I saw like this kind of like separation of people, and I saw this in a very larger perspective overall in society. But like generally, I think there are two types of people: people that outsource things and people that do it themselves, that are driven to reach forward into like life and find their true potential. So I think technology, comfort, and you know like a lack of connection. Our society is very fractured right now in the states, and you know we all stand for something different. I think it's just dulled meaning as a whole in our society, in purpose and like a drive to create communal flourishing, to you know extend a helping hand to your neighbor, and in all to all the points you just said, like be courageous and choose to self overcome. Um, and so for me, when I had my spiritual awakening, I had like this sense of awe about life, about existence. It felt very, it's a one time thing, and I realized that, and it felt very like purposeful to pursue hard things and meaningful things. Um, and so, if you had like any advice for people who want to rebuild meaning in their life, in this world, in a society that is focused on comfort, um, and you know, like a society that's just kind of misaligned with a greater purpose, what would you say? Like, how have you found it in your own life? And I know we talked a bit about, you know, your mindset shift when your dad passed and creating the movie and everything. But like, yeah, how do you create a mindset shift? How do you create the weight or find the meaning to actually bring yourself to change?
It's definitely surrounding yourself with the right environment. And I'm gonna touch on a couple things. Kind of circling back to like the technology and stuff. Like it's you're like like I can't really speak much of like the dull like the dull meaning on my end because I used AI for like all of college. Like that degree was basically like AI generated, it's that's
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely did not try at all. I mean, they were granted they were like English classes and stuff, so it's not. I mean, I'm not the greatest English speaker. I still correct people on their grammar over text when they use the wrong your, but like, uh, fucking, I'm definitely not the brightest bunch when it comes to straight academics because I've used straight AI. Didn't have to use my brain. The only thing I had to do was copy and paste a question. I know Control C and Control V like the back of my hand, but. I think definitely when you bring up this dulled meeting, uh, with like with basically life and purpose, like I think it's definitely shifted, uh, more so from kind of like a more personable aspect to like it's got everything's on social media now, and social media I think has a very big impact on the way that people not only see the world but they see themselves. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of tying this back into kind of like creating this environment that helps you promote your own mindset to have a little bit more purpose, be a little bit more driven. Uh, I have sort of I try not to I don't that's actually not what I want to say. Like I have kind of tailored my social medias in a way that, and I won't lie, I put a lot of focus on social media. I really shouldn't, but I do. I feel like I've tailored my social media in order to be more of a personal portfolio, but in the way that I want to see myself.
Okay.
Mean, and I think a lot of people do that, especially women. Like you'll see all of these like models and like high follower account people, maybe even people we've graduated with,
Yeah.
uh, where all they post are just pictures of them like looking good at a party or like they're with friends and uh or that's really all they post or all their like you scroll through any real like sorority girl's profile and it's them. Uh what I try to tailor my social media on is like yeah, I post myself, of course, uh looking good and like the best I can, but I also try to post, uh accomplishments,
Yeah.
stuff that I've accomplished, stuff that I've achieved, stuff that I can kind of look back on and compare my like I try not I go back to that story by dad where like don't compare yourself to others, but it's with my social media compared to other people, like I can kind of look at it and be like, okay, like I'm doing a lot compared to what some of my other counterparts are up to. Uh,
Yeah.
and some of that almost drives me a little bit. Uh, Granted, they're accomplishing a lot,
Yeah.
stuff that I'll never accomplish. Like, they're going out there getting a bachelor's degree. Who the hell
Hmm.
knows if I'm ever going to get a bachelor's degree? They're hooking up jobs. I know a couple buddies now that already have six-figure jobs lined up. That's phenomenal,
Hmm.
and that's who knows if I'll even ever get to that point. Because who knows what's going to happen years to come. Uh, but no, I don't see that. I don't see that. So with my own personal drive, I'm looking at myself, with this personally built like I try to call social media a personal portfolio.
Yeah.
Uh,
A
you know,
personal brand, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Hmm.
it's uh I find I take meaning from that in the way that like I can almost compare myself to other people around me and be like, you know, again, like, you know, I'm accomplishing a lot, I'm doing a lot, and going back to that mindset of like, all right, what's next? How can I top the next thing? How can like how can I be better? You know? Uh,
Yeah.
and it all around and again, it's kind of sticking with social media. This is kind of like my last point before I kind of tie up this uh finding meaning portion, but really just again surrounding yourself with stuff that makes sense to you and
Okay.
things that you want to be, you know. I like my initial thing, like I started following Mentality, the account on Instagram, uh and like, you know, they post every day, they have some sort of like motivation, like get the fuck out of bed, uh you know, you can't hurt me, freaking uh uh gosh, I can't even no excuses, pain is temporary,
Yeah.
work harder, you know, like all those kind of things. And like I liked I'm not a big fan of the account now because I you know I'm already in that mind. I'm kind of at the point where like I'm kind of seeing the same stuff and it's just getting annoying now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, initially starting following that Mentality account and like just, you know, everybody started doom scrolling. It was around that doom scrolling era. You know, I would
Yeah.
scroll through and like you know, seeing the same kind of motivational messages every single day. Like I feel like it started to kind of input into the in my brain of, you know, a real mentality, a real a better way of thinking, uh rather than, you know, kind of sitting around moping and whatnot. It definitely gave me a little bit more drive and a little bit more sense. And I definitely stood by it. You know, there'd be some quotes that I would see and like I'd start sending to people like, hey, this makes sense. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, am I, and I was maybe I'm on a little bit different of a level than everybody else. Not saying I'm on a higher or lower level, but, you know, just a different level, left or right. Uh, like, and with all that being said, you know, kind of tying back, I think just all around with all of those different environments, whether like surround the way the way you brand yourself, the things you surround yourself with, uh, can all tie into that mindset and to what uh, all in its entirety is what you surround yourself with
Yeah.
is what really builds you.
I completely agree. It's all the external influence and what comes into your mind. So many things you said resonate, especially with social media, because I'm getting into YouTube now and I want to be a content creator. And I got on this like wavelength of you need to lock in. You need to be, you know, business owner, millionaire by 22 in the best shape of your life, right? And that's where it started for me. And that worked at first. It got me in the gym and it got me looking at life with a little more seriousness. But I got burnt out so quick because it was just about do more, do more. And I felt like, you know, looking around at all these people on social media who had everything seemingly figured out and I didn't, it just felt impossible to go from where I was to where they were. And it's been an incredible journey. But what I had to do was exactly what you said. Number one, change my environment. And that consisted of like getting off social media, um, and that. And I think another aspect of this is what you said when we look at like a lot of women nowadays, and even men. In this example, it was men like running a business that's making, you know, seven figures a year, and you know, like that's the masculine ideal that I think is pushed on men. And then, for example, we have women that like to post, you know, a lot of photos of themselves, and you know, they want to appear attractive on the internet. And I think that's kind of like the feminine ideal that we see is, or at least it's in my opinion like the ideal that isn't really attached to true masculinity or true femininity. It doesn't reflect its truth. We're going to get a little philosophical quickly. So, something that I read recently is a book called Simulacra and Simulation. It was published in 1981, I think. Um, and the author talks about this. It's a little conceptual, but like the idea that reality actually split into. Okay, and his argument is that there was one reality. It was the base reality, and then the second reality was a copy of the original. It was just a representation of the original. And so I look at masculinity and I look at femininity, and I feel a lot like how they're perceived online, like this ideal that is pushed on people, is not connected to something higher than themselves. It's all for personal gain, and it's this like presentation of themselves in a grandiose way that makes it like I don't know. To me, it was the same story as yours. You got this stuff in your feed over and over, and you kind of built your mindset, it reinforced some things. And it was a little different for me because, you know, motivation is one thing. Those quotes I think are good. But when you see people who are constantly ahead of you and have all the things that you're striving for, what you have to realize is that they themselves don't have they're not the people you want to be, because if they're presenting themselves online in that way, their values are not the ones you should be aiming for. And this is like the biggest shift in my mindset, coming from someone who is super driven, who wants to be an entrepreneur, content creator. I had to understand that number one, my purpose was not to be driven towards making money or presenting myself online. It should be towards God, in my opinion. And in doing that, or at least attuning myself to the energy that I found that like basically allowed me to detach from having a career, from going to school and doing all these things, and choosing to do something that like a lot of people wouldn't do. And for me, that came through God, like really trusting God. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I found that at the end of it, I know exactly where my money will go, is to my family and my friends. And it will go and be built towards building a life that allows me to live more holistically, to spend more time with my family, to take care of them. And it's not about buying a Lamborghini or, you know, going out and making my presence known online, or, you know, like proving to all the people that doubted me that I actually made it. It's not about that. It's so much deeper than that. And I think that's like social media is a poison on so many people nowadays. Number one, it's engineered to put you in a state of, number one, dopamine seeking, and then also like feeling bad about yourself because you're not where other people are, or your life doesn't look like, you know, the influencers or people that you see. And so I think we should tie this into like the dopamine crisis, a little bit. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I well, I'm definitely a victim of it. I mean, I sit here and doom
So
scroll
am
and
I. Yeah.
shit. Yeah. It's atrocious. But like, I'll get ads of like with a Paul and like apps that'll like, hey, like we're gonna lock up your social media after using it for an hour or something, and you can get it back in 2 hours or something like that. Like, yeah, it's definitely not a great thing to have, but I think it's a very great breakthrough when you stop doing it. you
Okay.
you kind of realize like how much stuff you can actually accomplish whenever you're not wasting so much time like on social media. Like right now, like the, what I kind of wish my feed was like potential like cool shit. You
Yeah.
know, like like I could be looking at like real estate, I could be looking at like learning how to like be a better person, learning how to find God in different avenues, learning how to build houses for all I know. Uh,
Yeah.
but instead it's just like straight like brain rot fucking bullshit that all my friends send me, and like now I can't get it off my feed, and it's just like, and
Yeah.
what's so bad is that it's like funny to watch. So
I
like
know, yeah. It's so
so
funny.
with
And
it.
I, and I find myself like looking at the most like atrocious stuff and just sending it to my buddies and like laughing my ass off, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, like I wake up from the scroll and I'm like, shit, there goes like an hour, or there goes like
Right,
30 minutes.
right.
Yeah. And I feel bad about it. And recently I've been really good. I've gone like 3 days without scrolling once. Actually, no, that's a lie. I scrolled earlier today. I can't deny it. I scrolled earlier today. But yeah, it's like that. The scrolling, the social media, like get off of it. Focus on reality. And this is what I think. I began writing a thesis 2 years ago. It was like gonna be a masterwork. I was gonna publish a book from it. But my focus is different now. Like I don't want to keep spending time on something that I know isn't going to ever come to fruition. Um, but I talked a lot about how like modern society is engineered as a whole. Okay, so the party culture, the drug culture, right? Social media, um, all of these things that like are reminiscent of the lower self, or the part of you that's just not striving, not oriented toward God, your goals, and community and family, like those things. I would say society's engineered to put you in that place, to actually make it hard for you to self overcome. And this is what I think is so important. I think about like what I'm going to talk about on YouTube, because I want to speak to an audience of people that resonate, number one, with like what I'm talking about, and also kind of give them the story of how I've done certain things in my life, um, and how I framed it. Because it's one off to have that millionaire success that you strive for, that you see on social media. But if you actually want to dedicate yourself to something worthy, like a worthy pursuit in life, it's going to require so much more than luck. But it can be done. It's just, like, in that perspective, I think the dopamine crisis is like a huge part of this. We get dopamine from so many things. Um, I had to, like, there was a time where I had to completely rewire my system from like dopamine seeking. Like I ate so much food, so much shitty food, and scrolling constantly, and then I was vaping for a little bit, and like that combination right there was devastating. All right, so much dopamine with almost no work being put in, and then I started going to the gym and running a lot, and like early morning wake ups, and just like pushing myself, and I saw this snowball effect of it getting easier and easier, and eventually like I could let go of all the ways I outsourced my dopamine and like get balanced again. And at that point then I was living a completely different life, and that was probably the hardest journey I've been on or been through. But like now on the other side of it, I love the gym. It's not a task, it's something I love doing. It's fun to me. Running is still not as fun to me. Cardio is not as fun. But yeah, um, I am rambling a little bit here. I just wanted to
I
talk.
like I get your mindset on it, and I agree with kind of the lifestyle that people live. Uh, it's they don't need to strive for anything or do anything hard because it's easy.
Yeah,
It's an easy lifestyle. It's a comfortable lifestyle. If everybody can be an entrepreneur and uh, be a millionaire, of course. I mean, who wouldn't? But it's not an easy lifestyle. It's not an easy mindset to obtain. So a lot of people just stay comfortable and they just go with the flow of life. And then, that's that. Uh, what what I see a lot though is, it's also really easy to get into that mindset because like entrepreneurs will make that mindset easy. You know
yes,
what I mean? Like we like fucking Jeff Bezos and Amazon. You know what I mean? Like that's like the number one place to shop anywhere in the world
Hmm.
now. Uh, but because he made that so easy, and now people were just comfortable with doing it rather than like I could have done that. You know, I could have made an online store that sold literally everything
Hmm.
and all things ever. Uh, but nobody had the drive to do it. He did.
Yeah.
And now people hate him because he's a billionaire and they're not.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah. It's yeah, I like that you say that because this has been the biggest thing in my mindset. And from what once started as like an intolerable grind and then changed to like a pretty good lifestyle of, working out often and pursuing some goals. When I actually went to push myself to the level that I wanted, the one that I dreamed of, it required me making the hard work easy. The hard work had to feel easy because I was unbalanced, I think, by most people's standards. And still am. I work really long hours, but I love what I do. Like, I absolutely love it. And I've just freed up a lot of time in my schedule to start doing YouTube, which is like what I really want to do because I love creating things. Um, and I love the philosophy side of things. I love studying it. So talking about it is all in alignment and it makes it just so much easier to produce something. And I think, yeah, it's like defining yourself based on like not limiting yourself and defining yourself by what you want to be truly is the only way to actually do it. Because if you can believe in yourself that you already are the person that can achieve those goals, it will feel 10 times easier to actually execute on them. And that's important. Like, have you gone through something similar? When you maybe from like when you didn't really know what you wanted to do to transitioning into the army, um, anything like that?
oh well freaking I got my ass kicked going into freaking the army.
Yeah.
You know, obviously because like I was my dad's first kid. You know, I'm the oldest in the family.
Yeah.
Uh, and graduating high school, and like now we're going to all these grad parties, and you got people at work asking him, and family friends asking because he's well known around Hampton. You know, he's a
Hmm.
sergeant in the police force. Uh, and everybody sees his face. He's pulled almost everybody over at least 3 times. So when people start asking him these questions like, hey, what's your kid doing? Like, where's he going to school? And like, where he's got to sit there and he has to be the parent that tells him like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like that's,
I want to go back to what you said about your dad, where how you imagine he must have felt. Um, Definitely, I've been through something very similar. Not exactly, but going to school, he was proud that I was going to school, but I never really wanted to see that as a career. I went into school not knowing what I wanted, and came out of school realizing that it was useless to me because I would never be happy doing it. And I'm a stubborn one. I could have, chalked it up to my indecisiveness and made some money for a couple years. But um, instead, I chose to go a different way. And I've been focused on different things and spent my time a lot differently. And my dad, he went to college, got a degree, got a job, and he found a lot of security in his career. And he built something great from that. And so for him to look at me and see me doing something like YouTube and running this business in AI, and it's like very confusing because it wasn't always running this smoothly. I had been through several months of not of failing over and over and over again before I found like number one business. Like I ran a car detailing business for 7 months, and 7 months in, we were done making any money, and I had to close the company. And it just felt like a huge waste of time. And my dad said that to me. He's like, "You didn't know what you were doing. This has like been a waste of time. You should have been more focused on school." And I was very upset at first. And I was like, in that perspective of like, I imagine he must be really pissed. You know, he just wants me to have a good life. He wants me to do something, right? He wants me to be happy. And then, you know, I really had to like come to terms with it and have a lot of sympathy for his perspective, because of that very reason. He just wanted me to be happy. And, you know, how he found his stability was, you know, through a college degree and a job, and that is what was natural to him. And so naturally, that's what he wanted for me, or where he thought I would go. And so that was a huge like transition with my family, is being able to just accept that we have been at odds, because I was wanting to do something different, and regardless of all that, still be a family, you know, or at least the family that I wanted, right, and the family that they wanted. And so yeah, and now things are, you know, different, but I'm still facing that a little bit, because I spend, you know, a lot of time right now doing things that don't make me money necessarily. Only until recently have like maybe 20 hours of my week that I spend on the business come back and give me a return, and it's still not that much, not enough for me to live off of, you know. But you know, I guess it really has been for me discovering what I want. Like you said, I had to choose myself over others, even my family, to understand that, you know, what's meant for me isn't always going to align with the people in my life. And I think that's a huge point in like young men getting into relationships, is they're still finding and figuring themselves out, and what they want is going to change. And I've had this progression too, where I started out like really catering to a girl and really wanting us to have a good relationship. But then I discovered a huge drive in me to like pursue excellence, to pursue, you know, a lifestyle that, number one, like, of course, from the beginning, it was like gonna provide for us, right? But to get there would require us to have something that's not really traditional, okay? It would require us to probably not spend very much time together. And yeah, so like at your point, I totally understand. I think that it's important. How did you said you like saw the unknowns, and that's what really got to you. And one of those was like probably what was going to happen to your relationship. So how did you like face that unknown? What was going through your head?
Whenever I enlisted, I didn't really have much of a choice, you know.
Yeah.
You know, from there, like, you know, you raise your right hand in the air, and now you got a report date, and now you're in 2 weeks from now, you're going to be in basic training, getting your head shaved and given all these uniforms, and now you're pushing on the ground, crawling through dirt, and doing a whole bunch of dumb shit. A lot of like, of course, I was afraid of the unknown because I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared for it. You know, like how are you going to be comfortable with what you're going into when you don't know what you're going into?
Yeah.
Now that like I have all this training done, like you know, I've come to this unit, like I feel like I'm thriving, I feel like I'm learning a lot, I feel like I'm more lethal than I have been in the past. And now, like, you know, back in high school, or like, you know, before entering basic training, like I was afraid to get deployed. You know, now I want to get deployed. Like
Yeah.
now, it's what like I need somebody to freaking like hit the switch, and like, you know, with our division, we can be anywhere in the world within 18 hours. Like I just want that to happen. You know, just a freaking light switch to flip. Just say like, all right, hey, you're going to Syria.
Fuck it. Like you're prepared. You're ready to go
I'm
and
ready to
just do
go.
this.
Like I'm
Yeah.
ready to. I want to go do what I've been training to do. You
Yeah.
know, now I'm ready to go get these like not cool experiences, but you know, I'm ready to go experience and train and do everything that people say thank you for your service for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. That's awesome. That leads me to like one last topic, which is a little, it's gonna sound a little out there as well. But me getting into the entrepreneurship space and YouTube, I've been talking to other YouTubers and entrepreneurs out there, And the one that I'm following right now, which has given me huge opportunity, he owns a project called the Retribalize Project, and his goal is to create a new town, like a new city, that is focused on communal flourishing. That's its core value. So you look at society and like how it's fractured, and essentially what he wants to do is find people that this is the business model is up top you have like influencers or people on YouTube that have a huge audience and they filter certain types of people into like a pool, and then below that pool of people are entrepreneurs that can hire from that pool of people for their projects. So it's a pretty crazy business model, but what he wants to do is run this out of his own city. Not that he would be the one running the city necessarily, but he's organizing the project. And this is, you know, to like rediscover community, loyalty, shared struggle as a community instead of being fractured. And I think that his thinking is that in society, we're headed in a direction where the divide is going to grow and grow. And the next stage will be decentralized community, new types of communities that are built for people who strive upward, who are ready to enter something new. And it's a home for entrepreneurs and people who want to connect with other like-minded individuals. So that's his project, and I really like it, and I'm a little involved with it. But I wanted to ask you how how brotherhood has kind of been a part of your military journey. Have you found like the ability to push yourself in also sharing that same direction with, you know, your comrades?
I like
I didn't know what other word to use. Yeah.
that's all right. Again, so like with brotherhood, right? I mean, you it's easy to find brotherhood within the service because you all go through the same shit.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through this crazy basic training experience, and we're all learning the same stuff. Here in the 82nd Division, we're all jumping out of planes. Like it's stuff that we can bond over. It's crazy dangerous stuff that we all experience, and it's I mean, you create that sense of brotherhood. And then I guess especially in the military, whenever you have that brotherhood, it's easy to like take care of one another,
Yeah.
in times of need. And that's phenomenal. Like it's being able it's and you kind of talked about having kind of like shared struggles,
Yeah.
and that sort of entity, right? Like that right there is what creates this like brotherhood, or all of these relationships with people. It builds stronger relationships, I should say. Whenever you go through all these hard times together, you can build connections like that. And I think it does wonders. I don't really know how much more to say on it. It just works wonders. It's incredible.
Yeah. For me, it's been like kind of fighting the solo grind and wanting to find people who are doing the same thing. And that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Is I've gone through a lot of like struggle on my own, and there's this next level that I need to achieve, that I need to ascertain, and I feel it and I see it, but to get there, it's like an immense amount of work. And I think that just like you described in the service, when you have people and guys around you that all are working towards the same thing, and you've gone through the similar, you're going through a similar struggle, you're doing it actively, that's what you need to really flourish as a team, and also just as a human being. You need that sense of community, that shared ideal. And so I look back to like tribal times, and I see that people were more rooted in community then than ever before. Like they had this tight-knit group of people that would die for each other. Literally, they would go out on the hunt and they would die for each other if anyone needed like I guess defense from like an animal or an enemy tribe. Like it was really that bond that made them unbreakable. Um, and so my final question to wrap things up is how would you like outside of the service encourage people to build tribe and to find those like-minded people that they need to actually flourish and grow in a society that's so broken and fractured.
So I'll say I'll the real Taylor of the story, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, is surround yourself in a good environment. Surround yourself in a good environment. Surround yourself with good people. Uh, one, I'll bring up this example from my dad's movie. Uh, when he talked about his experience going through the synagogue shooting. Uh,
Okay.
that like he was a SWAT team member at the time, and that was something he had to go respond to. Was obviously obviously an extreme uh, act of hate, but also very graphic, very like something serious that you know not a lot of people can mentally take care of and handle and visualize. Period. Uh, and he goes into talk about when officers have or officers and even people in the military, they're given like resources, like government resources, and like people you can talk to and stuff like that. But the real easy way to kind of get over stuff like that, and even to just like build those relationships, build that brotherhood, build that sense of community, is just to surround yourself with that community that's all struggling together and work through it together. You're never on your own about, different kinds of any issues you're going through, period. It doesn't matter how crazy your life is. It doesn't matter like how unique your situation is. I mean, nobody is ever alone. And I think being able to take that initiative and go out and put yourself in that community, surround yourself with those good people, uh, and be able to cope with each other, I think will definitely get you very far as having that strong community with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I think that that's a good piece of advice to just find people that maybe you don't like necessarily have to resonate with these people or agree with everything they say, but people who at a fundamental level, they share your values. They have gone through a similar struggle, have a similar perspective, and being able to learn and lean on them in times of need is really important. Um, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you, and I guess if you had 60 seconds to take everything you know, everything you've learned about like purpose and building yourself, and you had to give like a younger generation a piece of advice, what would it be?
Stay positive.
Yeah.
Stay positive. Keep a positive mindset, and I'll elaborate that within this 60-second period. Stay positive and keep a positive mindset, uh, and do whatever means necessary to keep that positive mindset. Right? There's no reason to be negative. There's no reason to waste time on being negative. Uh, there's no reason to be negative to other people. Everybody's going through something different. Everybody's going through something crazy, but you need to be able to have that integrity and have that kind of selflessness to be that rock, stay positive, keep that smile going. Uh, every day is a great day. I tell that to everybody at work. Today is a great day to be alive. Uh, you know, Being able to stay positive, going out, helping other people, whenever they do need it, just to be that rock. Uh, and it all just comes down to the very baseline of staying positive, and you'll go far.
Yeah, it all starts there from your outlook.
Mhm.
Um, awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for sitting here with me for an hour and a half
Yeah.
and rambling on. Yeah, it was really good. Um, I'm gonna link in the description your movie. Okay, so
Okay.
anyone who wants to watch that, I recommend you go watch that and check it out. It's really awesome, and it was a really great project that you made. Um, Inspirational to a lot of people. So yeah, man, thanks for being here and for
I
talking.
appreciate that. No, I
Yeah,
appreciate it a lot. It's phenomenal talk.
yeah, of course. All right, dude.